Are you having trouble with your strong-willed kids not listening to you? Today, I want to talk you through 3 simple changes you can make to how you're asking your kids to do what you need them to do in a way that will really help them to listen to you. So there's a lot of really difficult advice to follow around getting kids to listen, especially strong-willed kids. So some of the advice will focus on how do you break your child's connection with what they want, which is really difficult to do for strong-willed kids. So whether you're trying to do that by rewards or by punishment or consequences, you're going to find it much more difficult for your strong-willed kids than you will for other children if you're taking that approach where it's like, how can I get you to not want to do what you want? So there's a few different things that we need to focus on for strong-willed children, but today I'm just going to focus on 3 really simple changes you can make to how you're talking to them that might be getting in the way. So the first one that I see really often, which is we're trying to explain to our children why they should want to do what we're asking them to do. Right? We're trying to explain that they should get it. So things that fall into this category is we believe everybody should be responsible for themselves. You don't want to leave a mess for other people. You're impacting other people. Like these kinds of things where it's like, I'm trying to get you to want it. And anytime you find yourself saying something that you're trying to get your child to want it, what we're falling into the trap of is that with strong-willed kids, if we go with them rather than against them, it's the quickest and easiest path. So what we're trying to do is make them want what we want, right? It's not going to work because they see through it. They're like, no, that's not what I want. Like it's really important to me to get what I want, and what you're trying to explain to me is not what I want. So this is not going to get you very far. Now, the reason we go down this path is that we think that kids are incapable of being considerate or wanting to contribute to other people. And I find this really difficult to swallow, because I see kids as always wanting to contribute and to be considerate of other people, unless it requires them to sacrifice themselves. And so what we want to do is get out of the habit of seeing things as a sacrifice and getting into the habit of looking at, why is this thing needing to happen? And this process of saying, I understand where you're at and what you want, this still needs to happen. This part of this is accepting that people don't need to understand or agree with other people's needs or boundaries. You don't need to understand or agree with somebody else's boundaries or needs to respect them. And that's why even small children who don't understand why it's important to get to daycare on time, even small children who don't understand why it stresses you out to live in a messy house, they're capable of understanding that this is a boundary and this is necessary, right? And then the conversation then just becomes, we're going to do this in a way that is best as we can for you. So this is what needs to happen, but let's do it in a way that's as best as we can for you. So the second thing that I see really often is people asking when actually they're telling. So if you ask a child to do something, it's like, could you please clean up now? Or would you like to get ready to go? There's all these ways that we ask a question when actually it's an instruction. This is not something that they can negotiate on, but we're asking them. And what that encourages them to do is say, actually, I don't want to. It's not for me. No, thank you. So you can do, one of the things you can do is, I use the technique of replacing okay. I'd finish all my sentences with, it's time to eat lunch now, okay? And, because again, you want them to go with you. I replace that with a hard habit for me to break. So I replace that with capiche. So I had to teach the kids that capiche means, do you understand? Or capiche with a question mark means, do you understand? Which I did want to know the answer to. It's not whether I didn't want to know whether they felt like eating lunch now. It's time for lunch now. And the second thing I'd say is that if you notice you've asked the question when actually it was an instruction, you can just say, oh, actually, I'm really sorry. I just asked you a question, but it wasn't a question. It's actually an instruction. You need to, and you need to do it now, right? So that can really help stop watering down your instructions to your kids. And the last thing, is that you need to explain to them, sorry, I'm just checking my notes. You need to explain to your child what is in the way of them getting what they want. So if you've got something that they need to listen to, you need them to listen. You need to explain to them, why do they need to listen to this? Because if we think about what a strong-willed child is doing, is a strong-willed child is looking for, how do I make this what I want it to be? And what we want to explain to them is, you can totally spend time working out, a better option, but this is the criteria under which, it has to happen. So, for example, if it's teeth brushing, like, you must brush your teeth every evening and you must brush them for a certain amount of time, or whatever instructions you normally give to them about excuse me, about their teeth brushing. You want to give them really clear, this is the boundary, this is what needs to happen. And then that gives them the space. They have more creativity than we do because they are younger. They have more time and energy and motivation to find a solution. So if we give them the boundaries, it's like, this is what has to happen, this is what's negotiable. If you do those three things together, you'll find that you're giving your child a much better chance of listening. Now, if you would like to go into more detail about a real detailed process of how do we get our kids to listen, what is in the way of them listening, and also how to keep calm when they don't, because unfortunately there's not really a way to make them listen all of the time. You can get it to be really often, you can get it to be the default process, but it's unfortunately there's not a magic way to make them listen all the time. So we want to know how to keep calm when they don't. So if you would like to come along to that webinar, you can register at jodithornton.com/listen, and that's where I'll be going through that really detailed process. And if you have any questions about the 3 tips that I've given you from today, or any questions about the webinar, just pop them in the comments of this video. Thank you so much for watching.